Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another installment of Golondrinas live sessions. I'm Laura Gonzalez, the Education and Volunteer Manager here at El Rancho de las Golondrinas Living History Museum. We're located just south of Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the beautiful and historic La Cienega Valley. Joining me again today is Las Golondrinas volunteer and cultural craft leader, Becky Dickens, to walk us through a step-by-step process on how to make corn husk dolls and other things. So traditionally, corn is a staple of New Mexico. It's corn or maíz is the golden crop of New Mexico, and together, along with beans and squash, form a very well-balanced nutritional diet throughout historic New Mexico, and it's known as the Three Sisters Garden. So corn has actually been cultivated in New Mexico for thousands of years. The indigenous groups before the Spanish were cultivating it. Historically, it was cultivated here at Las Golondrinas, and we still grow corn in our agricultural fields today. Now, apart from eating corn and enjoying corn on the cob and everything like we will be later next month, all the parts of the corn, or as many parts of the corn as possible, were used for other things. For example, the corn stalks were used to prop up the vines of nearby plants, which is the case in the Three Sisters Garden. The corn cobs could be soaked in animal fat and then used as fire starters. And of course, the husks were used to make mats and other things, including these lovely figurines. So if there's any questions at all during the course of this little video, feel free to put them in the comments. And now, without further delay, it is my pleasure to introduce again and welcome again Becky Dickens.
Hi, happy to be here again. So today we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to make corn husk dolls, which I do with the kids every year, and we do a little boy doll and a little girl doll, so that we're all appropriate there. And you do need supplies for this project. You will need corn husks, which maybe you were going to make tamales last year and you didn't, and you still have yours, or you will have to go buy some. And the corn husks are in the produce department at all the grocery stores. And probably not supposed to say this, but the Bueno corn husks work the best for crafts. Although I got these at Walmart the other day, and they actually seem to be pretty nice, very consistent and flexible, and that's what you want for doing crafts. So here we go. We are going to first we'll make the girl, and you're going to take 2 corn husks, and you're going to put them right together like that. And then I'm going to take a piece of yarn, and I'm going to tie it about an inch down from the top there. And if you wrap it a couple of times, it makes it easier to tie and get a tight knot. You really want to tie it tight, because if you don't, your corn husk doll will fall apart and you will be very upset. Okay. Alrighty, there we go. I've got tied at the top, and now I am going to, I can trim a tiny bit of this off right here. Now I'm going to carefully, these corn husks are pretty sturdy, but they do rip, so you got to kind of be careful with them. So now I have flipped it inside out. I'll show you that again. Take your corn husks, flip it inside out over the tied part, and kind of fluff it up a little bit there. And you're going to tie it right there. This is going to make our doll's head. So I'm going to take another little piece of yarn here. You can use yarn. Yarn is the easiest to use. You could use probably very fine ribbon, but everybody has a spool of yarn around, or string. right, there I've got the head. And this is looking a little bit uneven. So I'm going to sort of trim this so that the front and back are going to be about the same. So here's my basic doll. Now she needs arms. And what we're going to do for the arms, you're going to take one of these, turn it into some strips. And I'm going to take 3 nice strips, and I've got wide, skinny, wide. That way it'll make a more uniform braid, because that's what we're going to do, is we're going to make a little braid, and that's going to make both the arms. So once again, you're going to tie it tightly. Okay, I have it tied, and we can trim all this little stuff off when we're done. Okay, so now I'm going to make a nice little braid. And I always love doing this with kids because this is the skill I like them to learn, because most little kids don't know how to braid. So this is a super skill to teach your kids, is to make this little braid. And try to get it as tight as you can. If you lay it down, it's kind of easier. And if you're showing kids how to do this, you just start out by showing them the 3 strips, and then you say, this one goes over the middle, now that one goes over the middle, now this one goes over the middle. They get it really quickly, and then they're very proud of themselves. And kids can do it easier if it's lying flat, and if you can hold the one end for them. And then if they're older, they don't want you to mess with it at all. Okay, I got to the end of my little braid, tying it off again. This one braid is going to make both arms. And I'm going to trim this up. Trim off these little ends. There you go. We have a braid. That's going to be the arms. So here's our doll. And you're going to put the arms right up close to the head, underneath there. Fold this back over. And once again, you're going to tie. That's going to give her a waist. If it looks like I'm having trouble tying, I am. I discovered the other day that I have a carpal tunnel in my left hand, and it's hard to tie things or button buttons. Okay, now she's almost finished. And you can fluff out her skirt by very carefully opening up the corn husks. And if you want to, I didn't bring one, but if you want to make her skirt stay fluffy, poofed out, you can let it dry over a little pill bottle or little jar of some sort, and that's what I did with some of these. I actually put her over a little jar and then stuck a rubber band around it so it wouldn't move. So anyway, she's almost done, except now she needs a little rebozo. So a rebozo is a shawl in Mexico. And I have two little pieces picked out here. This is actually Guatemalan fabric that I've cut into little strips. And these are probably like about 5 inches long. And if it were a real rebozo, it would be one piece. But since we're making it a doll, and it makes it easier this way, so you're going to put her little rebozo, you're going to make an X over her shoulders. And now she has her little shawl. We're going to tie it again around the waist. And there you have the little girl doll. Now we're going to make the boy doll. And as you can see, you can do variations. This one, I tucked some yarn under here before I flipped it over to make the head. And that way I can make a little braid in the back. I also made her a little baby by making just the head, and I had the rest of it, and then I just flipped this back up and messed with it enough so it looked like she was holding a baby. And this one, I just twisted some stuff together and made her a little hat. This guy, I made him a little hat. Not terribly successful, but it was a lot of fun. This lady has a mantilla. So you can just play with the corn husk. Once you've got the basic idea, you can have a whole lot of fun with this. Okay, we're going to make the boy. And I already have a braid made, so he will go quicker. And this is a really big corn husk, so I'm gonna be able to make him out of just the one, or maybe I'll use part of another one. This is a pretty big corn husk there. And once again, tie it at the top and make his head. Cut that down a little, flip it over, and we're going to tie it right here. Okay, once again, there we have his head, and I made a braid ahead of time, so there's another little braid. Put it up there, right up close to the head, and you want to get all these ties really tight, otherwise it will fall apart. So try to get your stuff tied tight, and that's one reason yarn is good, because it stretches and you can really get it nice and tight. Okay, so this is going to be a boy. He's going to be pretty tall. Look at that. And the way we're going to make this a boy is put these flat together and just take and split this. And now we have legs. And we will tie them together at the bottom. And I'm not paying much attention to the colors of yarn I'm using, but you can get picky and use all the same color if you want on your doll. Okay, there we go. Now we have a guy. We can trim all this up a little. And he's going to have a serape, which a serape is like a long, slender blanket that's worn as a wrap in Mexico. And I made him one. Here it is, somewhere. No, that's not it. Well, we'll just have to use one of these thinner ones. It would be a little wider piece than what we have going there. And a little longer than this. But he's going to be wearing a serape. And once again, just take a piece of yarn. Tie it nice and tight. This should have been a little longer. I thought I had made one. Anyway, if it were a little longer, it would look nicer. But anyway, now we have a boy doll and we have our girl doll that we've just made. And like I say, you can fiddle around with these, add things. We had some little girl made a dog once at our table, and I figured out how to make a burro. I don't think I could do it again, but anyway, it's a lot of fun and doesn't cost much to do. So any little bits of fabric, yarn, and all you basically need is some corn husks. So now we are going to do one more thing. We're going to make a paper flower. And I think we're going to make this. These are very easy to make, and you can make them all quite differently. This one's just regular looking petals. This one has curled petals. This is a calla lily that we do these with the kids on at Viva Mexico sometimes. And these are just a various number. This one is sort of a little gladiola looking thing. And you can just use the raw corn husks the way they are. You actually can dye them if you want to take the time. The fabric dyes work. You have I don't know how to get the colors as brilliant as would be nice, but you can use the fabric dyes, or you can look up some. I actually dyed some purple ones once with some iris. It actually made a pretty good dye, but we all don't have that kind of time on our hands most of the time. So commercial dye does work okay. So anyway, first thing we're going to do, once again, we're not going to use these wet. You'll need like a spray bottle with some water. They don't have to be soaking wet, but they do have to be a little flexible. So I'm just going to spray this with some water. And then I'm going to, this will make 2 petals. This one will make a couple of petals. So I'm just going to take and round this out And there I've got 2 petals. You do the same with this one. The one thing you will need some florist tape, which is this green tape, and it sticks to itself, and I don't think there's much you can substitute for that. You will also need some little tiny wire, and where's the wire? I thought I had it all out here. Nope.
Is it there in front of the
Here's the
basket?
tape. And I don't know what I did with the little wire. So this is going to be interesting.
Is it there in front of the basket, Becky?
What?
In front of the basket there?
It is in front of the basket. Thank you, Laura. This is what happens when you get old. We found the wire. So you are going to need this little wire. I mean, you can use any little wire. But the florist tape you will need. And you will need some stems. Then you can either buy them, or you can take some pretty heavy wire clippers and make your own, which is what we've done here lots of times, out of wire hangers. Works perfectly. So I now have 4, I'm going to cut one more flower petal. Okay, so here are my petals. I also want a middle for my flower. This one I used some raffia. I think there's one there where I used a piece of rope and kind of unraveled it. This one was just a little piece of fabric. So what we're going to do is, I've got some more of this stuff, this raffia. So I'm going to make a middle out of this. I'm going to fold it in 2. Put a little piece of wire in the middle of it. Twist it on there. And I'm going to put this on to my, I'm going to make a little curve in this. And we're going to wire this on. Just twist it really good onto our stem. So that's going to be the middle of the flower. Turn this down just a little more. Okay, it's on there sturdy. And now I'm going to make the flowers. We can just add them on around the outside. And you can make as many rows of these as you want to make your flower bigger. We're just going to do these 5 petals. And you kind of pleat it up, squish it up, pleat it up, scrunch it up. Take another little piece of wire. And make sure this is wrapped really tightly. Go around a few times before you twist your wire together. That way you'll know you've got it really tight on there. Then just twist it. You turn this off for me. Let's power it off. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry, folks. Always hoping for a call from the grandbaby. Okay, so now we have got the basic flower. And I could have made these a little more even, but you can even them up. And then you can just keep adding. That's what I did with this one. It's probably got 2 rows of petals. Or you can have a lot of fun and make them curly. And the way you do that is you take a pencil, and you don't want it wet, but you want it damp. And you can take a pencil and very carefully curl the corn husk over the pencil. It's like that curly ribbon that you use sometimes. So I took it and went over the pencil and then kind of squished it together. And then you get a curl. So just roll it over the pencil carefully, then squash it together. And if you are at home cutting back your iris or other things with long leaves, you can add a leaf from your garden and it will dry on there. Okay, this one is being a little tricky. Make sure you don't want it, it won't work to roll it if it's wet, but if it's not a little damp, it will split. Okay, so there we've got sort of a very basic flower. If I wanted to be going on and on here, I would probably add another row of petals, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to now do my florist tape. And this tape sticks to itself. So I'm going to start and wrap it nice and tightly. And there you have sort of a basic flower, and you can also carefully take and kind of puff them out from the inside. This one needs a little more curl. So there is sort of a very basic flower. Like I said, I would probably add another whole row of petals around this, and then it would look more like this one does, which is a little fancier. But you have the idea. You can make it with just the corn husks straight out. You can make a calla lily just by using one piece of corn husk and then folding it carefully back. After, you can use a little piece of a pipe cleaner for the center. And once again, you can just experiment. There's lots lots of things you can do, and once you start playing with it, once you start playing with them, you'll come up with your own ideas. So that's kind of,
So that's corn husk doll making. Thank
yes.
you so much, Becky. Do we have any questions from our audience? So some of the audience members admitted to never making a corn husk doll before. So I think this is a great activity, especially now during the month of October, the month of November. You know, all of these holiday seasons are coming up. It's a great activity to do with the kids and the grandkids, something fun and fairly simple to do, but they come out really cute. This is something that I imagine could be a wonderful centerpiece on a holiday table. So now, Becky, you're talking about dyeing these and decorating these. Would spray paint, for example, work on these as well?
Yes, I didn't want to mention that because it's so unhistoric. But I actually did have some leftover purple spray paint, and I think that this one was the recipient.
There we go.
And I just very lightly did it with the spray paint.
Very
So,
nice.
yes, you can do that.
And I suspect any craft supplies that our audience has at home, things like glitter or stickers or glue, they could really get creative with this project.
Yes, and you know, and you can make the middle out of almost anything. Fabric, ribbon, you could make a little ball of yarn for the middle. You could, you know, just play around with it and you can come up with pipe cleaners, you know, any little stuff you have. I mean, the only thing that you absolutely have to have is the corn husks and some wire, the florist tape, and a way to make some stems. And if you still have any wire hangers in your closet, you're in good shape.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the audience? No questions. Well, you covered it all. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, thank you so much to Becky, our cultural
My
craft
pleasure.
leader. She's often out here at Las Golondrinas when we're able to have our major events. She's found at the cultural craft table, and this is just one of many things, many crafts that Becky is able to do. She's incredibly talented, very crafty, and a lot of fun to hang out with at the craft table. So we really appreciate her coming out and doing this for us. Again, we thank you all so much for spending a little time on this afternoon with us here at Las Golondrinas. A couple of reminders, folks, that we are slightly open to walk the grounds, to leaf peep, to come out and have a family picnic until the end of October, on October 30th. All the details about that and the buy your tickets button are all available at our website at golondrinas.org. Keep up with us on our Facebook and our Instagram, both at SF Golondrinas, for updates on these videos and other things that might be going on at the ranch, for other news. Keep in mind that these videos get posted to our Facebook and they stay there, so please share them with your family and your friends. And for those that don't have Facebook, you can always direct them to our YouTube, which is Las Golondrinas channel. Make sure to type that into YouTube, Las Golondrinas channel. And we have a few videos, and we'll get this one up there as soon as possible. So again, thank you all so much for your support. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye, everybody.